Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show we have
Douglas Pratt.
Yes, we do. It's such a fun episode. Doug is one of the co-hosts of the Two Authors podcast, Nick Harvey, who we've had on the podcast, and great time.
Yeah, and we talked to him about he writes really fast and, talked about that. And Jamie and I basically wish we could do it. And how do you do it? And we talked a little bit about writing thrillers and mistakes and lessons learned in marketing and writing a series. So that is coming up. What have you had going on lately?
Well, I'm just writing. This week, I haven't gotten as much done. Wednesday was the 3rd anniversary of Joni dying. And so I decided to go to my parents' house. So when Joni was that last month when she was on hospice, my third sister, Dana's friends, high school friends, brought us dinner every week. And it was not just like, it was like a full thing. It was huge. And then they did a bunch of other stuff for us, but they did these meals and they wanted to bring dinner on Wednesday night. And so
nice.
I went up just for that because we were all together and it was fine. I mean, that was fine, but it's hard to write a story about a sister dying when on the day your sister dies. It's kind of hard. So I really do anything I'm going to go write today. Yesterday was kind of a wash too, because I was going between my mom's house and my daughter's house, but I'm going to work today. And yeah, that's it. I'm really close to being done with second revisions. I've reached out to developmental editor to see kind of what her process is. She's somebody that's developmental edited for a couple of other women's fiction authors that I know. So we'll see. I mean, and it's kind of moving on. I do have the book launch workshop available. The link will be in the show notes. I would love to help if you guys, any of you are wanting help with launching a book. I would love to help you. So that's
and so that is October 23rd, right? At 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Central. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that will be, I'll put that link in the show notes.
Great.
And for me, I've been out of town too. I went up to see my parents. It's a birthday weekend we're celebrating 2 birthdays, kind of midway between 2 birthdays. Went up to Amarillo and went to Palo Duro Canyon. I haven't been out there in ages. It's beautiful out there. Yeah, it's just gorgeous.
I haven't been either in such a long time.
It's beautiful. Great weather. It's very dry there. It's like zero humidity. Feels like to me. My parents kept saying, "Oh, it's kind of humid here." And be like, "No, it's really not. You may think it is, but it's not." So not a lot of writing stuff went on this week. And so that's okay. But I have the regular release of the book coming up, and I had all these big plans, and I'm still going to contact some influencers. Yeah. But I think I may apply to put the book in a box. There's a company that does book boxes. And so I think I may just do that. That may be my bigger push and just get the book itself in the hands of readers. Yeah. And that may be what I focus on this time instead of like doing my own box. And, I don't really think I have time to do all that. Yeah. In fact, I know I don't. I just have to admit it to myself, let go of that for this release and keep moving on.
Yeah. We should mention that we're both going to be at Author Nation.
Yes, we are. It is coming up pretty quickly, actually.
Yeah, November 2nd. Well, November 3rd, actually. I think you can still get tickets, right?
I think you can, yeah. I'll put a link in the show notes. We will definitely be there, and we would love to talk to you there.
Yeah, so if you're going to be there, let us know ahead of time. But definitely come find us. We'd love to talk to you and hang out for a little while. That would be awesome. So we're both looking forward to it. You're going to be on a panel, right?
I am. I'm going to be on the cozy panel, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm doing some introductions, and then I'm moderating a romance panel and a romanticism.
Wow.
So yeah.
You're going to be busy.
Yeah, I will be. Be busy. But looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think it'll be really interesting. I've never been. I've heard about it, for years. Yeah. And I've never been. So I'm looking forward to going and seeing people, connecting with vendors. Now, as I'm doing things, I'm like, hey, are you going to be at Author Nation? Because I'm going to be there. Maybe we can meet up.
I will encourage you to, if you know a vendor's going to be there that you want to talk to, make that appointment early or just touch base with them, because they are super available. And I think Joe and his team have done a great job of giving them space and the room to do that. And, there's a vendor day, but they're they really want to connect. And that's one of the things that I heard from NINC, from people who went to NINC. You and I didn't go, but this year, but there was a lot of time for people to connect with vendors, and they just came away with a lot of really great information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really good. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to go, was because everybody's there. So you can meet people, and it's just so much better to meet people face to face. It's
Right.
just, once you have that connection, you know that person.
Yep.
And a lot of times things are announced at conferences that are not available.
Right.
You know, like you get early access to things. So yeah, good reason to go. But yeah, we have that coming up. Let's see. No new supporters this week, but thanks to all our continuing supporters, we really appreciate you guys. And we actually have recorded a special episode that will go out to supporters as soon as I get it edited. That kind of fell off my list before I went out of town, but so that's coming soon. And they actually hopefully will be out before this episode comes out. Hopefully.
Right. And if you'd like to support us, we'd love to have you do that. It just shows us that you appreciate what we do and that you want us to keep doing it. So thank you.
Yeah. So if you do sign up to be a supporter, you'll get access to the backlist of exclusive supporter episodes, the private Slack group, and a shout out in a future episode.
Yeah.
So that is all we have right now, I think.
Well, and also one more thing, because we don't ask for it very often. Lately, we have been, if you haven't left us a review and you can't support us financially, we get that. Times they're hard.
Yeah.
A review would be amazing on Apple Podcast
or Spotify or wherever you listen.
Or wherever you listen. And that doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of time, and we would really appreciate that.
Yeah. And quick note on Spotify, the way our podcast is set up, we have a distributor that sends it out to the different platforms. And I have not been on Spotify itself for a long time. And I checked in there today, and we have comments over there that I have not seen. Ooh. And they're old. I'm so sorry. I apologize. But if you really want to get in touch with us and you want us to make sure we see your comment, the easiest way to do it is to use the text us a message link in the show notes. We will definitely see that.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to mention that Inez Johnson has a Kickstarter going, and it's a 52-week planner, page turner planning on Kickstarter. And it's for writers who wished they had a weekly roadmap for craft, marketing, branding, and business. And we'll have the link in the show notes. I think from the day we're recording this, which is October 3rd, there are 11 more days. So once this comes out, there'll be a few more days left.
It looks like it runs through October 15th, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get in while you can, because Inez does a great job with everything. She's super organized. Oh, yeah. She's a great person to do a planner. She loves planners. That's like one of her hobbies and one of her special interests.
On the cover, it's got like a heart, but it's actually like a pen holder. And she has, when we've done interviews with her and you see her desk, she has all these colored pens and stuff. She loves that.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely check this one out.
Yeah, I would definitely check it out for sure.
Yeah. So I'll put that link in the show notes.
Like that.
It would be perfect.
Yes, it would be perfect. It might be perfect to get me going.
You might have to go give it a try.
I might have to give it a try. That's right. Yeah. But anyway, so check that out for sure, because she is a friend to the podcast, and she has really been there for us and supported us, and we want to support her.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have that link in the show notes if y'all want to check out the Kickstarter. We
should get on with the episode. It's so fun.
Yes. All right. Here is Doug. Douglas Pratt, a best-selling action author hailing from Memphis, Tennessee, captivates readers with his unique blend of charm and intensity, reflecting his Southern roots. His works keep audiences on the edge of their seats, infused with a sense of adventure and exploration. Beyond writing, his personal interests led him to sail the seas, exploring coral reefs and sunken shipwrecks, which fuel his imagination and inspire enthralling adventures in his stories. Pratt. Hi, Doug. How are you doing?
Hi, ladies. How are y'all?
We are fantastic. We're so glad you're here.
I'm excited to chat with y'all.
It's good that somebody is. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, please. Everybody's excited to talk to y'all. I've seen y'all around the conferences. Everybody runs after Jamie anyway. So.
Which is perfectly fine by me.
Tell us how you got into writing.
Well, I have been, since I was like 5 years old, writing books was what I wanted to do. I had I think in 5th grade, me and another kid wrote a whole series of short stories about a little frog that we had that I didn't stapled together and we drew
The
pictures.
frog? You stapled
Yeah.
the frog together?
Yes, that's well.
I was going an origami frog.
No, our stories were stapled together.
Yeah, for clarity's sake. Yeah.
But yeah, I've been always fascinated with stories. My great grandmother, when I was just a kid, like that's what we always want to do is have her tell stories. And so for somehow that raconteur spirit kind of carried over. It's something I always wanted to do. In fact, I was writing my first book when I was in college. It sat on my computer for years until I figured out I could publish it on KDP. And so I did that in 2011 and then just started wanting to write more and write more. So
wow, you've been doing this a while then.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what is your definition of success?
I think success is one of those things where you get to do what you want to do and you get to, I mean, not like anything, but you're doing what you enjoy. Like, so for me, it was writing. It's something I always wanted to do, but I'm able to do it. I'm able to live on it. And so I'm able to support my family on it. So to me, that is the absolute best. Like, this is the best job in the world. It doesn't matter how much I work at it. I absolutely love doing it. And I love that I can do it and I can take my wife with me to like these events. So if we talk about NEEC, well, these fun events get to go, she gets to be a part of it and it pays my mortgage. So it's not like I have to get up. I've done office jobs. I've done bartending jobs. I've done waiting tables jobs. I've done construction, but like, this is a job that I can do and enjoy and get paid for.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the definition of success. So if I made $1 million at it, that'd be great. If I make enough to live on and pay my mortgage, that also is great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is a great answer. And it's great that you include your wife in those things. I think I would have to drag my husband kicking and screaming to
Writers' conference.
any of those events.
I will say, like, my wife she's a little more introverted than I am. I know that's probably not hard to believe, but so she enjoys going. She needs a little downtime sometimes too.
Yeah.
So like at NEEC, she'll go and then she'll go hide at the beach for a little bit, but she enjoys spending some time with people as well. So
that's awesome. What do you wish you'd known about writing and craft when you started publishing?
I think the biggest thing I would like to know, and probably also my biggest mistake, is don't hold those darlings too close, or don't hold them, don't make them a darling. I mean, my first series has 6 books in it. It never really took off. I struggled with it from my first book published in 2011. I was working full time, so I wasn't doing nearly as many books as I do now, but I was still doing roughly a book a year and a half. And so after 9 years, and at that point I did 6 books and then another little series of 3 sci-fi under a pen name that don't ever sell, so nobody knows about them. But they just didn't move, and I kept feeling frustrated. And at some point, I think maybe I was at a 20 books conference, and somebody just made the comment of, you know what, you could just be beating your head against the wall. And so I kind of stepped back and said, you know what, this one's not working. Let's try something else instead of just trying to pigeonhole this one character that I love because I feel like it is my first. He's my first character, so I've got to keep
your first
along.
love.
Yeah, I had to break up with them. And nowadays, I'm like, don't read those books. I mean, buy them, but don't read them. They're not as good as they are now. So I think that's the big thing I took away from it.
Thomas Umstattd Jr. had an episode a long time ago about the dangers of not necessarily writing the same series for a long time, but the rapid release model where you write a whole bunch of books and release them all, because, that can be great, but it can also be a very difficult climb if it doesn't hit, because then you've got all those books and you have to figure out when to let go and move on, or is it better to let go and move on to something else? Because if you write a long series and you're depending on that first book to bring people in, and it's your first book, it may not be as good as like book 7, but you can't really say, well, really the series gets really good at book 7. You can't say that.
Hold on. Yeah, I agree. I think that's true, because you probably need a good starter series. And that's what I figured mine was, a starter series that I learned a lot of things on. And by the time I got to book 6, I actually think book 6 was really great. And I look back at book 1 and I'm like, that's the one that took me the longest to write. And I'm like, man, it's still rough. And I've re-edited it, rewritten it a couple of times. And at some point, I'm like, I just got to let that one go. So
yeah, you do. But you bring up an interesting point. The book I'm writing now is very personal, and so the entire thing is a darling. I have felt it a couple of times because I haven't wanted to share a whole lot about it because I don't want people telling me what they think I should do, and it makes me nervous that I'm gonna be holding on to too tightly. So I have to. It's a good reminder that you need to listen to people who know more than you. So sometimes,
completely, I think sometimes that feedback is. I'm terrible about getting feedback from like critique groups and stuff like that, mainly because I write fast enough that no critique group could ever keep up. But it is a good, like one of the things I just did a conference session with some of the Outliers University people, and that was one of the talks they were talking about is making sure you're getting the right feedback from people who are going to help you, and that's important, and trying to understand not always to listen to that feedback.
What about marketing? What do you wish you'd known about that?
Oh, everything. Like basically how to shoot a moving target, because that's kind of what marketing feels like.
Right.
I think a good grasp and understanding of what the like Amazon ads, Facebook ads, and how you're not always using marketing necessary to drive sales so much as awareness to some extent.
Yeah.
I had this discussion with somebody last weekend. You know, there's a reason, like, why does Coca-Cola still advertise? We all know Coke, right? I mean, but yet they spend millions of dollars advertising. I want to be able to balance that awareness advertising so that people know who you are with, you know, them buying. And because I'm not Coke, that's got to be a narrower margin for what I can allow to get away with. I can't spend millions just for them to go, I know Douglas Pratt's name. So.
Exactly. But also we have a smaller margin anyway. I mean, that's part of the problem.
It is.
Yeah, part of the problem.
Yeah, just understanding all of that. But really understanding that it's just what worked when I started in 2011 isn't the same thing that worked in 2014. It's not the same thing that worked in 2018. Certainly not the same thing working now, because everything changes. Amazon shifts, and we got to be able to stay with it. Pivot. And do that pivot.
Maybe bob and weave.
Bob and weave, yes.
As the case may be.
Yes, exactly.
What are you glad you know now?
Oh man, I'm glad I know now the importance of the presentation. Really, like I look back at my first book covers and I look down, like it is incredibly important. I mean, when I did it in 2011, finding cover artists was extremely difficult. So I did mine in paint, and it looked fabulous, and by fabulous, terrible. So, but it's still on Goodreads because, you know, Goodreads holds on to everything. So you went back and find it. It's so I think that kind of thing is something I learned. I think really listening to people's advice is the other thing that I think you kind of grow as a writer, as an author, and as a business person when you start understanding that you don't know everything. And so you need somebody else's may have done it. So there's no reason not to go out and ask. So, I mean, if I came to one of you ladies, I said, if I decide to write something in your genre, I'm going to come talk to Jamie and say, hey, I want to write a good, sexy Texas romance. I don't know how to do that. So I think learning that has been important. And that's just really basically just keep your eyes open and absorb everything and understand that I don't know half of what I should know.
We just talked to Jeray Anthony, and she said that there's no medal for doing it all by yourself.
That's true.
No, you don't get a medal just if you do it all by yourself and don't ask anybody anything.
Right.
And that is true. And it is just such a hard balance though between listening to advice and staying your own course. It's a real hard balance.
You know, there's something that I had this discussion again while we were at this conference, and one of the sessions I was on, we talked about the community you have around you. And I think that we all, those of us who are successful, have learned that we need mentors. And mentors can mean a lot of things. You can have multiple mentors at any one time. Like you may have a mentor who helps you with advertising. You may have one that helps you with, you know, writing a certain scene. You know, you may have one that helps you with cover design. You may just have one that helps you with life in general. But not only do you need to have those mentors, but you probably need to grow to a point where you're also somebody's mentor for something. And that kind of community that we have is vastly different than any other business, I think, out there, because we do tend to all like work together. And I think it's such a great community our author community is. So
it really is.
I was thinking about that this morning because I was looking through Deposit Photo, trying to find some images for TikTok, and I saw an image that I had thought I might use for my first cover. And I remember then having it made up, and it did not hit the mark. And I sent it to Julia Kent, she didn't know it, but she was acting as my mentor. And she's like, does this book have sex in it? And I said, yes. And she's like, you got to have a man chest. You have to have a man chest. You can't do an illustrated, at that time in 2017, you could not do an illustrated cover. And she's like, you have to have a man chest. So I was really not wanting an entire chest. So he's shirtless, but laying on his stomach. but it was close enough that it hit the mark. And that cover sold that book. And so without her, I would have made one of the biggest mistakes ever. Now, what I've learned in this business is there are very few mistakes that can't be fixed, but some do have longer
There's some lasting
consequences than others. Yeah. So.
And for a book launch, your first book, you want it to be as on target as it can be.
Absolutely.
So, right. Absolutely. Yeah. Because that's the only time you get that first impression for people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really was just invaluable, guys.
Yeah.
Well, what do you still need to figure out?
Ooh, let's see. We already talked about it, marketing. I mean, I think there's always areas to grow in. One of the things lately that I've been working on is a little bit more craft oriented stuff. I don't want to stagnate as a writer. So I try to look at what other authors are doing. I write action thrillers. So, I'll look at some of the big names out there, like the Mark Greanys or Greg Hurwitz. And I try to kind of compare, like, how are they writing an action scene? How are they describing something?
Yeah.
And I think that, I think I do a good job, but I think I could do better. So I'll try to figure out what it is that I want to do better with. And it's really just kind of keeping on top of all of that, which is a lot of research, which is what I've really added to myself, is tons of research on everything. So it becomes a big ordeal to kind of get all of that compressed in. And then to tell that story, nobody wants to. Right now, I'm writing a scene where they're trying to tear up a generator. So I want to be technical without being boring. So, balancing that out a little bit and so that kind of detail is important to me, and getting it on the page where people still go, okay, this is interesting. Like, I love Tom Clancy, but some of his stuff got so detail oriented that you're like, you just doze off while you're reading. Yeah. So that's not what I'm looking for right there.
Yeah.
And that's currently my big thing right now, is I kind of look at craft as to how I can make it better writing, because mostly I'm kind of trying to step back a little bit from the marketing as far as trying to dive into something else until right now it feels like a little bit of I don't know, I feel like we're a little bit of a rough period this year. Yeah. So I'm thinking it's starting to smooth out, and we'll really be able to focus a little more on the marketing and figuring out what and how we need to market with the new sales ranking issues that we have on Amazon, and the new, how everything kind of is a little bit different for visibility. So
exactly. Yeah, I don't want to be a nuclear sub captain, so I
you don't need all those details, right?
I don't need them. I don't need them. What's the most unhelpful advice you've ever gotten?
Well, let's see. Probably something I ignore, but I'm sure that it definitely was something I ignored, because sometimes you get some advices like, you need to write more sex. I think that was somebody like, you need more sex than this, or you need to be more specific. Really, the biggest thing I'm gonna say is writing what you know, because if I only wrote what I knew, I would have some boring books.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to be a sub commander, but I have a sub in at least 2 books that I think are pretty entertaining. So I want to be able to step outside of what I know and write not just things I don't know, but also characters I don't know. I have a protagonist in one of my series that is an African American female, which, in case you didn't know, I am neither of. Yeah. So it's trying to write outside. I'm currently writing a character in my book now that's disabled and in a wheelchair. So I've been doing some research on that, talking to people about, because I want to get that correct, and I want to have some diversity and kind of balance that out. If I only wrote what I knew, it would be middle-aged white guy, and that's it. And that can be very boring.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to take that risk of including things that maybe we're not as close to. But I always feel like we're writers, and we should be able to put ourselves in that place. And then with research and interviews, we can hopefully capture some of that experience. We're never going to be 100%, know exactly what it would feel like to be another person or to do another type of job, but we can get the gist of it and capture that, is always what I hope.
Yeah. Well, I think our job is to emote an experience, and sometimes we gotta deliver that to the people who are reading our books, and they need to be able to feel it, because this is also an experience they don't necessarily have, because not everybody that reads my books is going to be one thing or another. So this is an opportunity for us to share those experiences with our readers, and hopefully open up some people's eyes about what else is out there. So
good point.
Well, what's the biggest change you've had to make in your thinking? You've been doing this for a long time. You've got a big backlist. So what shifts have you had to make?
I think it's honestly what Jamie has said, being ready to bob and weave for whatever is coming. If a book or a launch doesn't work, then that doesn't necessarily mean the book is bad. It could be any number of things. It could be that I chose to release a book the same day as somebody else who is, if Lee Child puts out a book the same day as me, then a lot of people are going to go grab Jack Reacher over Chase Gordon. I've actually had that problem a lot with Wayne Stinnett. Somehow he seems to know exactly when I'm going to release a book.
You guys are in sync,
and we're
huh?
in the same genre. Wayne will put a book out, like, man, he's got a book the same day as me. But yeah, so I think that's just being ready, understanding that, and if that doesn't work, doesn't mean that, or if a series doesn't work, again, don't hold on to it too long. I have a series that I'm enjoying writing. I can already tell it's going to end at probably 5 because it's just not taking off like I want to. That's okay, but it's not taking off like I want to. So that energy needs to be devoted toward a series that is making more money and is more successful.
Well, if you were starting over today, what would you do differently?
Starting over,
Doug Pratt, this is your life.
This is my life. I would definitely write more than I did when I first started out. I would like to be, if I was writing at the pace I am now, I would do what I do. I would understand a little bit more about patience. That first book that came out, you're like just waiting for it to do something, and one book generally never does anything, right? There are a few exceptions, but most of us understand that, there's like 3 books before you really see traction, 5 before you start running with it. And so I would have that patience. Right. Again, like you said earlier, though, you got to be sure that what you're writing is going to work anyway. So sometimes that first book, by now, and the first book in a new series is, I feel confident that it's a good story. And so it's not like my first book ever. And I was like, okay, that one's a little weak now, but I feel like now I got a good grasp on what the story is. So I would be able to handle it better.
You've mentioned that you write fast. Like, how often do you put books out?
This year's I've been doing a lot. I've done 7 books this year.
Wow.
And a big box set. And now I'm running slow. I'm starting to run a little slower. I do hope to get at least 3 more out this year. So this will be a big, busy year. Normally I do about 4 to 5 a year.
And how long are your books?
They're about between 65 and 80,000 words. Okay. Most of my Chase Gordon series is 65 to 70. My Corsair series hits around 80 to 90. And then my other newer series, which is a spinoff of my Chase Gordon series, it's more of a police procedural, and it's hit about 65,000.
Okay. And then what's your process? So do you write? Do you have beta readers? Do you have, I
do have an editor, so I tend to write everything. What I do at first is every chapter I get, I send off to my wife first. So she is my first reader. Oh, and wow. So she reads through everything I do, sends me back notes about what I did wrong. My favorite note she does, I say this on our podcast all the time, is that my favorite note she ever gives me is it just says on the side of the eye roll. And that's usually because I did something extravagantly crazy. And she's like, and sometimes I change it, but most of the time I go, I got to double down now.
Hold my beer.
Exactly.
You think that's crazy? I'm doubling down.
And so once I do that, she gets that every day, and then she sends it back. I will run it and re-edit it again. Like I usually run it through Pro Writing Aid and then reread it one more time, so that I feel like that chapter's had 3 edits before I move to the next chapter. Yeah. And so I just kind of do that all the way through. And then at the end, once I finish everything, I have an editor I send it to. I have used beta readers a lot. I have started winding down my beta readers a little bit, simply because I found them to be less helpful than they used to be. And so, as is the case, I'm at book 15 with my Chase series. Some of them have ghosted me and disappeared, and some people just want the free book and don't give me feedback. So I've kind of started pulling that back a little bit and using reviews, and some of these people will still send me emails constantly. Oh, you did this wrong. And as Jamie just mentioned a minute ago, we are lucky because as indies, going back and fixing something is a snap. Other than going to fix a paperback I've already got printed, I can fix any future ones within 15 minutes. So
yeah, that's really great.
When you talked about writing fast, I wanted to come back to that too, because I thought Jamie and I are not fast writers.
I was going to say, we're fascinated.
We often commiserate about how hard it is, and it seems to take us forever to do a book. I'm just curious, do you outline? What do you do? And is it easy for you to write fast? Or do you also feel like, oh, I wish this book would go faster?
Yes and no. And not in that order. So I always wish that book would go faster. So there's always a muddy middle. Yeah, I do both outline and not outline. The book I'm currently doing now is purely pantsing it. And I started out as a pure pantser. I have I will tend to do a tent pole outline of sorts, so I know.
Right.
Even if I don't write it down, I have it in my head. I know what the
Yeah.
story is going to do. So I guess I outline in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody does. Very few people will hit the page and go, I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 5.
Right.
I don't, yeah. They say they do, but I think everybody does the same thing I do. They work it out in their head. Like I lay in bed at night and go, what's going to happen next? And I'll work out what I want the next few chapters to be.
Sure.
And so I do spread it out for a couple of my series. For my Corsair series, it has a few more moving parts. I do outline that one, at least for the most part. It's a pretty rough outline, but it gives me an idea because I'm bouncing between points of view.
Mm-hmm.
My Chase Gordon series is all first person. The plus side of that is I don't have to write anything that Chase doesn't know. So he doesn't have to know the bad guy's motivation. He doesn't even know who the bad guy is in some cases. He just has to kill him and move on. So that gives me a little bit of freedom. For my police procedural, I do it all from the police chief's point of view, but it's not first person. So it's not as quite as internalized, but it still can kind of, and it's a straight up mystery. So he doesn't know anything till he gets to the end, but at least he does wrap it up every time. So I think
that's great.
So yeah, it's just a different, it's a different pace, I think, than you're able to just go faster, I think. And
a lot of that also is getting into the regular mindset for me. So like I just said, I just got off of VoucherCon for a week. Today is the first day I even wrote a word on my book since in like a week and a half. And so today has been a very slow, like just 2 fingers going. I got to remember where I was and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So getting into the habit of daily doing it. And I've got a couple of friends that we do some writing sprints sometimes, or if they're not available, I just set a timer. I'll do like 15 minutes, take a break, that Pomodoro thing.
Yeah.
And I think that helps me because it puts me in a position where 15 minutes I try not to be distracted. That doesn't mean that I'm so easily distracted. It's not funny, but it does help a little bit because I have that focus. And if I do it with somebody, my good friend Drew Strickland will write with me sometimes, and at that point, it becomes like a competition who gets the most words in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We don't say
that can be motivating.
Yeah,
you don't say that.
When I get through and I got more words, I know I'm better. So
the writing's on the wall.
That's all it is. I just say, hey, look at that. I did 600 words. You did 550.
There you go.
I mean, it flips back and forth. I have plenty of time. I don't like them. It motivates you. So
that's right. You mentioned your podcast, but you are one of the co-hosts with Nick Harvey of the Two Authors Chatting.
Yeah, Two Authors Podcast.
Two Authors Podcast.
Yeah, the Two Authors.
It's not chatting?
It was the Two Authors Chat show for the first season, but we kind of shifted it over to podcasts for a little SEO action.
Okay, well,
whether that helps or not, I don't know. But
okay, well, the Two Authors Podcast. Okay. Yeah. And Sarah and I both have been guests on that podcast, and Nick's been on the show. But tell us, like, why you guys started. Like, Sarah and I, we've been talking about doing a podcast forever, and then we finally did. But, like, how did your show come to be?
Nick and I are in the Tropical Authors group, which is a great group of authors who write the tropical things like we do. And so that's really kind of how we connected. And then one day he was living in Key Largo at the time, right after the COVID. And my wife and I were down there. So I was like, I hadn't met him in person, messaged him and said, hey, we're down here. Y'all want to grab lunch? And met him and his lovely wife, Cheryl. And from there, we kind of connected and started talking more and more online. And as we authors do, our communities often is face-to-face on Zoom. And then we were at Neek and we started talking about, hey, let's think about do a podcast. It's a good chance for us to regularly sit down together and talk about whatever's going on. Also, it gives us an opportunity to get to know people that are outside of our little circle. And that has been the best thing ever because I've gotten to know so many people that are like, some people that we like idolize. I mean, my absolute favorite was I got Charlene Harris on the podcast and had just such a, I was fangirling the whole time. But it's been a lot of fun because it also is an opportunity to pick the brains of people about things that we want to know about and that we where we can. So kind of like we talked earlier, it's kind of knowing and who to talk to and then reach out to them and say, hey, we're interested in having you on the show. If I want to know something about Facebook ads, we asked Mal Cooper on the show. We look for somebody who, and that's how we kind of started. And since then now we love meetings and talking to some interesting people and just really growing that network to get to know. Eventually, I like to know everybody. I want to walk through Neek and everybody go, hey, Doug.
Yeah.
So I want to be Jamie is really what I want. So
or hear your voice and go, I heard your voice. I knew it was you. It's very weird.
You have that nice little twang to it.
I have a bit of a distinctive voice. I do.
Okay.
But I will tell you one of the best things about being in this position, and certainly I am only famous in my head, but after my sister died, she died in October of 2020, and I decided the Sunday before 20 books started on Monday, like literally 24 hours ahead, I emailed Craig and said, can I still get a ticket? He said yes. And I booked a flight and flew the next day because I just needed to be around my friends, my people that I knew. And the people that listened to the podcast that came up to me weeping for me, it was moving. I mean, it was so healing for my heart and my soul. And I'll just never be able to thank our listeners enough for that. But so that's kind of one of those benefits that you never think about when you think about doing a podcast. But you guys have had some really big people. I mean, you had Sandra Brown on.
Had Sandra Brown on. We had Joseph Finder recently on. Let's see who else we have. We had a lot of Gareth Brown was just on with us.
Yeah.
That was super interesting. Yeah, we've had a lot of really cool people. Got a few coming up lined up.
Sarah Rosette.
Yes,
Jamie Albright.
Jamie Albright. We just had Joanna Penn on, talk about podcasts. I was like, hey, we're going to get everybody who's got a podcast.
Right. Well, and for those people that haven't listened to it, what can they expect from your podcast? It's a little different than ours.
It's a little different. I think it's Nick and I, it's really more we're chatty. So you guys are pretty chatty too. So it's a lot of us, it's a conversation. We have a good time. Like, I mean, the biggest thing is we want to enjoy what we do. So I tend to be the snarkier one of the two of us, but is what it is. So, but we have a good time. It's good. You're going to enjoy laughing and hopefully learn a little bit out of it. And our goal was, initially it started out as, and part of the reason we switched from chat show to podcast was we started out kind of wanting to be reader focused.
Yeah.
And we learned pretty quickly that I could bring Jamie on and her listeners, her readers would follow us. But then the next week, if I brought Wayne Stinnett on, your listeners were like, I don't care about tropical thrillers.
Yeah.
And so, what we did keep was the authors, and that started to be who reached out to us more was fledgling and emerging authors, a few people. And so that kind of became a more of our focus at that point is let's start looking at what makes successful authors, what it is that we want to, how people get into the business. And we preach a lot that basically your mileage may vary, that everything differs. What I do for nothing I say or Nick says is ever, we're not saying this is the concrete way to do it, because we're certainly not the people to listen to. I mean, we're both successful, but our success is different than someone else. You're not going to be able to come at it with a romance book.
Well, you're in a niche genre.
But what works for thriller doesn't work for romance. You're talking about TikTok. TikTok is, it's starting to be a little more thrillers, but TikTok's been ruled by the romance and the
psychological thrillers.
But now it's starting to see a little bit more grow in there. But you couldn't go into it. I couldn't go into TikTok 4 or 5 years ago and market there successfully, and it's now starting to be there. So you had to look at it then. Like, it would have been pointless for me to dump all my energy then into TikTok when I should be doing it into Facebook ads. And that may not work for somebody who writes erotica or some literary
genre
fiction.
it's all general.
It's all going to be different. And some people just can't grasp Facebook ads. Some people just can't grasp Amazon ads. And it's interesting to see. And so I think that's been one of our big preachings is try to figure out what works for you. Don't try to farm your own way through cut your own path all the time, because there's plenty of them already out there. You just got to figure out which one is the easiest going to work for you. So
since you've been doing this a long time, what's the biggest change you've seen in this industry, or a few of them? I'm sure.
I'll say right now the biggest is the change in sales ranking is going to be a big one for us, because we're having to figure out how to launch a book, how to have a promo, and how to keep that tail running. We've been so used to, I could get a book bub, or I could launch a book and we see that those numbers spike and then they'll hold there for a while, and that spike is stayed shorter and shorter. Biggest part of that, I think, is there's so many books also out there now. When I started, there were 3 million. Now there are 44 million. And last year at this time, there was 33 million. So they put almost 11 million books on there in a year. So they're not all readable. and they're not all in my genre, but that doesn't mean that there's still a lot out there. So visibility has become a thing that you have to be, and you have to pay attention to. You can't just write a book and put it out there and bam, it hits.
Yeah, I think you're right. And with the advent of AI, it's become harder in that I think that the spikes, I mean, we wanted those spikes.
We did.
Especially if you're in KU, you wanted that spike, and now you don't want the spike. You want a gradual build up, and that's hard. It's hard to have a gradual build up and still get visibility. It's hard. Yeah.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there too. Like I said, I've been at BoucherCon, which was a mostly traditionally published conference.
Yeah.
I was on the indie publishing panel, and some of the people that were on there with me had one lady had more books than I did, but she didn't grasp what indie publishing really was. Like, her comment was, you used to be able to make money back in like 2012. But then they made Kindle Unlimited, and the Amazon doesn't want you to make money with Kindle Unlimited. And I was like, what? I make a ton of money on Kindle Unlimited. So, and that's kind of the general rule. It's this consensus of these traditionally published people, a lot of them, and not all of them, but there is a misinformation about what is indie publishing. And they're starting to see a little bit more of it and learn a little bit more. And I think that helps. But one of the best things I heard was somebody asked what the difference was between a traditionally published and an indie published author. And this person was a third party. And he's like, well, I think the indie published authors are less miserable than the traditionally published.
Just viewing from the outside, you could, we're miserable in our own way, but at least we have created our own misery, and we control our choices a little bit more.
Control the misery. That's what
it is. Yeah. Well, I just had somebody tell me she's a hybrid author, and she's been very successful as an indie, very successful as a traditionally published author. And I was asking, because this book I'm writing is different than before, and I don't know if I'll write another one like it. And so should I shop this? Should I try to get an agent and shop it? And she's like, honestly, the only reason you should try to go get an agent and go traditional is if you don't like money.
And Jamie's like, okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
It is important. We had a book signing with a lady a while back who was also traditionally published, and she was blown away by the fact that I could control my pricing, that I could put a link in the back of my book to build a newsletter. She's like, I don't know how to build a newsletter. I said, well, I'll put a link in the back of my book, but Macmillan won't let me do that. I was like, I don't know. But
that's your bad luck. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, sorry, I can do that. I could put it on the middle of the book. Like, you could get to page 55 and there's a big QR code. So,
mid-book ad right here.
Exactly.
Why not? I think that's
intermission. And
we get that freedom. So, and some other people don't.
Yeah. So you don't still make your own covers?
I do not. No, Dave Behrens does all of my covers now, and they do.
Let's clear that up real quick.
Yes, very much. I didn't even like doing them when I did do it. That's not. I am not an artist. There's other people in my family that are, but that was not going to fit for me. I think that's important. Figure out what you're good at, and you find people to do the things that you're not good at.
Yes.
And that's why.
That's just wise.
It's a great day when you can start handing things off that you're not good at or that you don't enjoy. Yeah. And I hold on to things because I like to control things, and I feel like I'm going to do this better. But there are a lot of things that it's much better to hand them off to somebody else because they're so much faster than me and they do it better.
Very few things I found that I'm good enough at to go, I don't mind doing this at all. So
Yeah. Well, this has been great. And it's been just great to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
We always like to ask everybody, what's the best thing you've done to set yourself up for success?
Build a community around me.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's kind of like you said, Jamie, we referenced this weekend. Some of the people that we spend time with at these conferences, we only see 2 to 3 times a year, and yet they're like family to us.
Yeah.
They're the people that we would call when we're having a bad day. The people. If I have an issue, probably the first person I'm calling is Nick. I'm gonna say, hey, can you believe this? I just recently had an issue that I was very frustrated with, and he was the first person I'm on Facebook Messenger go, you're not going to believe this. And of course, it's not just that he understands, and that helps because he's in the business too, but we are so much like a family.
Yeah.
And it really is such a great feeling. And I don't know that I've worked with some places that we had a tight knit community, but to have one that is worldwide, really, it's a great feeling. And I don't know that it passes to other industries the same way. So
I don't either, but I agree with you. I mean, it's just also gain so much perspective from knowing people in different places and different places in the US, but it's especially different countries and stuff. And yeah, I agree. I just count myself very lucky to be in this community.
It's such and like I said, it's the best job ever, but the community is such a byproduct that I would have never expected it to be this great. Because to some extent, and I think that's something that people think, they think there must be some kind of competition, or there must be some kind of why are they successful and I'm not? Yeah, what's the catch? Why? And I don't know that that's the case. I think
unless you're doing sprints.
Right. Well, yes, and that's totally different. So it's totally different. Yeah. Always the best in that one. So.
Yeah, exactly. Tell everybody where they can find out about you and your books and your podcast, all of that.
All of my books are on Amazon. You can find me on Amazon. There are a few other Douglas Pratts. I'm the biggest one. The rest of them are kind of weird. But then also our podcast is the Two Authors Podcast. You can find that anywhere that podcasts are at. We come out once a week, every Tuesday generally. And we also have a Patreon as well that you can check out if you're interested, which we have some bonus material on. And that's kind of where you can catch me at. Been available everywhere. Also at douglas-pratt.com.
We will have all those links in the show notes. And just thanks for being here and talking to us.
Thank you. It's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, so you can find those links at wishidknownforwriters.com. And if you've received value from the podcast and would like to support us, you can go to wishidknownforwriters.com/support. And we would appreciate anyone who wants to join us as a supporter. We really appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
So we will see everybody next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.